Not a single person from my family came to my wedding. Not one. Instead, they all decided to go to my sister's engagement party. My name's Lila. I'm 28. And just last Saturday I got married on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. The kind of day little girls imagine when they're 5 years old, draping themselves in old curtains, pretending they're walking down the aisle. The kind of day people tell you will fly by in a haze of tears, champagne toasts, and family photos you'll want to keep forever. And honestly, it was almost exactly like that, except for those glaring empty chairs where my family was supposed to be. Every time my eyes drifted toward the front left side of Sacred Heart Chapel, the section I'd reserved for my parents, my sister, and the people who meant the most to me, this heavy ache spread through me, like a red wine stain bleeding across white silk, impossible to ignore. And here's the part that still twists my stomach even now. None of them showed up. Not my mom, not my dad, not Marin, my sister, and not even Quinn, my best friend since we were 9 years old. The girl who helped me build a lopsided treehouse in my backyard back in the day. They all went to Marin's engagement party instead. Yeah, you heard that right. She deliberately scheduled her party for the exact same date as my wedding, 8 months after I'd already announced mine. And my entire family picked her. They didn't even bother to hide it. The invitations went out just 2 months before my big day. Heavy cardstock with Eleanor gold foil, probably costing more than I'd spent on flowers. Glamorous pictures of Marin and her fiancé, Elias, kissing on some rooftop downtown, looking like they belonged on the cover of a lifestyle magazine. Meanwhile, my invitations were simple and classy, nothing over the top. And the only thing I got back were half-hearted replies that broke my heart a little more each time I read them. Mom texted, "Honey, we'll just have to see how things go that weekend." Dad didn't even bother with words, just sent a thumbs-up emoji 3 days later, like I'd asked him to grab milk on his way home. At the time, I told myself I was overthinking. I kept hoping I was wrong, but deep down I knew I wasn't. Marin had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. When we moved into the house on Maple Street, she got the bigger bedroom. On her 16th birthday, she drove away in a brand new Honda Civic. I got Dad's old pickup with busted air conditioning. She was homecoming queen, valedictorian, the daughter who made our parents beam with pride. I was always second place. Still, I truly believed my wedding would be different, that for once they'd show up for me. 3 weeks before the big day, I called Mom to check their travel plans from Phoenix. She paused for what felt like forever before saying, "Sweetheart, about the wedding, Marin's engagement party is the same day. It's going to be really hard for us to be in 2 places at once." I laughed at first, convinced she had to be joking, but she wasn't. "So you're not coming?" I asked, my voice cracking in a way that made me instantly hate how desperate I sounded. "It's just that Elias's parents are flying in from London," she said. "It's such a rare chance to have both families together before all the wedding planning starts." And then the line went quiet, except for the sound of my heart breaking into pieces. "Mom, this is my wedding," I said, clutching the phone until my knuckles turned white. "My one and only wedding." She sighed like I was asking for too much, like I was being selfish. "You'll understand one day when you have kids, Lila. We just can't be in 2 places at once. Marin really needs us there." I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were trembling so badly, I almost dropped the phone onto the kitchen floor of the little apartment Nolan and I shared in downtown Denver. I didn't tell him right away. He was in the shower, humming some old Beatles song, completely unaware that my family had just gutted our wedding. I didn't want to ruin his good mood, didn't want to see pity in his eyes when he realized what kind of family he was marrying into. But over the next few days, the truth came crashing in. One by one, relatives called to say they weren't coming. Aunt Denise, the woman who'd basically helped raise me when my parents were struggling, told me she couldn't miss Marin's big moment. My cousin Owen, the guy who took me to prom when my boyfriend got sick, texted me something about family loyalty. Those words made me want to throw my phone at the wall. The worst call came the night before my wedding. Quinn, my maid of honor, my best friend since elementary school, called, her voice tight with guilt. "Lila, I'm so sorry," she said. And I knew instantly. "But Marin's party, it's kind of a big deal. There are going to be some important people there, and I really can't miss it. You understand, right?" No, I didn't understand. What I understood was that everyone I loved decided Marin's engagement party, something that could have been held any other weekend, mattered more than my wedding. On Saturday morning, I woke up in the Marriott downtown with Nolan asleep beside me. For a moment, I let myself pretend everything was fine. That later that day I'd walk down the aisle, see Mom dabbing at her eyes, Dad straightening his tie, Marin smiling proudly from the front row. But reality has a cruel way of showing up. Getting ready should have been this exciting, buzzing moment filled with bridesmaids and family fussing over me. Instead, it was just me and Nolan's sister, Clara, who'd flown in from Portland. She kept sneaking worried glances my way as she zipped up my dress. "They're really missing out," she whispered. "You look absolutely beautiful." I smiled and thanked her. But inside I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out the joy I was supposed to feel and left me with nothing but an empty shell. The church looked stunning. White Eleanors, baby's breath, exactly how I dreamed it. But every vow Nolan and I exchanged felt shadowed by those vacant chairs in the front. The ceremony itself was beautiful. Nolan looked so handsome in his navy suit, and his face lit up when I appeared at the back of the chapel. Our friends filled the pews, crying and laughing as we read our vows. For those 25 minutes, I almost forgot about the missing people. Almost. But each time I glanced to the left, that ache in my chest grew heavier. Nolan's family did their best to fill the gap. His parents sat in the front row, smiling at me like I was already their daughter. Clara stood proudly by my side, stepping in when Quinn bailed. Nolan's old roommate gave a toast that had everyone crying and laughing at once. It should have been enough, and in so many ways it was. But there's something about your own family not showing up that tilts the whole day just slightly off balance, like a picture frame hanging crooked on the wall. The reception was gorgeous. At the garden terrace with string lights and mountain views, a venue Nolan's parents had insisted on upgrading for us. Nolan and I had our first dance to At Last by Etta James. For 3 minutes and 42 seconds, I felt completely happy, spinning around the dance floor, laughing at the little jokes Nolan whispered in my ear. I thought maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. Then my phone, sitting on the head table next to a slice of red velvet cake, lit up like fireworks. A text from Mom. "We need to talk now." I frowned, showed it to Nolan. What could possibly be so urgent that she needed to reach me in the middle of my own wedding reception? Before Nolan even had a chance to answer, my phone buzzed again. Then again. Then it started ringing nonstop. I just sat there, horrified, as call after call came through. Mom, Dad, Marin, and even numbers I didn't recognize. The missed call counter kept ticking up. 15, 20, 25. "Lila, what's going on?" Nolan asked, his brow furrowing with concern. My hands shook as I stared at the screen, unable to keep up with the flood of notifications. Guests at nearby tables were starting to notice too, their heads turning toward us while my phone buzzed like an angry hornet on the table. And then I got a text that made my stomach drop. It was from my cousin Isla, the one person in my family who usually gave me the truth without the sugarcoating. "You won't believe what's happening at Marin's party. Call me when you can, but don't tell anyone I texted you. This is bad." I just sat there, heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. The reception carried on around me. People laughing, the DJ blasting September by Earth, Wind and Fire, kids from Nolan's side of the family spinning in circles on the dance floor. But for me, it all felt muffled, like I was behind glass. Something had gone horribly wrong at Marin's engagement party. Something bad enough that suddenly, on my wedding night, the same people who had refused to show up for me were now desperate to get a hold of me. The irony might have been funny if it hadn't been so gut-wrenching. I leaned close to Nolan and whispered that I needed some air, then slipped outside to the patio. The night air was cool against my face, and at least out there the sound of my phone wouldn't drown out the music inside. The first person I called was Isla. She picked up instantly, whispering like she was hiding in a bathroom stall. "Lila, thank God," she said. "You're not going to believe this mess." My nerves tightened. "What's going on? Why is everyone calling me?" "It's Marin's party," she said. "It's a disaster. First, the caterer botched the order, half the menu never got confirmed, so there's barely any food. Then somebody forgot to plug in the cooling unit for the ice sculpture, so it melted into a puddle before guests even arrived. But that's not even the worst part." My stomach nodded. "What's the worst part?" "Elias's parents, the big reason everyone said they just had to be here, they never showed up. Their flight was canceled because of some storm. They can't get another one until Monday. Marin's been crying in the bathroom for an hour straight." I stared out over the Denver skyline, stunned. All of it, Their absence at my wedding, their loyalty to Marin, their excuses, had been for people who weren't even there. There's more, Isla said quickly. Your mom is in full meltdown mode because Elias's business partners were supposed to meet his parents tonight. Now, without them, Marin looks like she threw herself a vanity party. She's throwing tantrums at the event coordinator, and it's honestly embarrassing. Isla hesitated, then added, Your mom wants something from you. My chest tightened. What now? She wants you to call in a favor with Riverside Bistro. You know, that restaurant you worked at in college? She thinks maybe they can rush in some last-minute catering. She's convinced you have the connections to bail her out. I almost laughed, but it caught in my throat. After bailing on my wedding, now they wanted me to save Marin's sinking party? Using connections I made from a job I had to work because they never helped me? Isla, I said slowly. I'm at my wedding reception. I told her that, Isla sighed. But she's panicking. She keeps saying it's an emergency, that the family's reputation is on the line. Your dad's just standing off to the side, looking like he wishes he could disappear. Another call buzzed through, this time from Dad. I muttered, Of course. Now he's trying too. Isla gently urged, Don't answer. Just, please Lila, enjoy your wedding. This isn't your problem. I hung up, but the damage was already done. Whatever magic bubble had been protecting my wedding night had popped, punctured by the very people who had chosen not to be there in the first place. Through the glass doors, I could see Nolan laughing with his college buddies, probably wondering where I'd vanished to. Our cake sat on the table, barely touched. The DJ was playing the songs Nolan and I had handpicked for the playlist. And yet, there I was outside because my family couldn't keep their chaos contained for one night. I decided then and there, I wasn't answering any more calls from them that night. Marin's crisis could wait. I wasn't about to let their drama ruin what was left of my wedding. Nolan and I had a honeymoon planned. 3 quiet days in Aspen at a cozy little bed and breakfast, and I clung to that thought like a lifeline. But when we got back to our apartment on Tuesday, I opened the mailbox and felt my blood boil. Sitting inside was a small package with my mother's handwriting on the return address. No note, no explanation, just a familiar jewelry box. I knew it instantly. It was the box that had always held my great-grandmother's wedding necklace. A delicate string of pearls with tiny diamonds woven in, passed down through 4 generations of women in our family. I remembered being 16 when great-grandma Eleanor pulled me aside at Christmas, fastening it around my neck so I could see myself in the mirror. This is for your wedding day, she told me softly. It's been waiting for the right bride, and I know that's going to be you. When she died a couple years later, Mom kept the necklace safe for me. I'd asked about it plenty of times during my engagement, and she always said she wanted to surprise me with it the morning of my wedding. That morning came and went without her, or the necklace. I figured it was just another thing I'd lost along with their presence. Now here it was again, except when I opened the box, my heart stopped. It was empty. The only thing inside was a small slip of paper in Mom's handwriting. Thought you should have the box for sentimental reasons. The necklace was damaged in storage. So sorry, love, Mom. I just sat there staring at it, reading the words over and over. Damaged in storage. No way. That necklace had always been spotless, well cared for. Great-grandma Eleanor treated her jewelry like sacred heirlooms, and Mom had been obsessive about proper storage. Something was off. So I called Isla, the one person I trusted, to give it to me straight. Isla, I asked slowly, did you notice Marin wearing any kind of vintage jewelry at her engagement party? Something that might have looked like it didn't belong to her? There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. Then Isla's voice dropped. Oh, Lila, please tell me your mom didn't. Didn't what? I asked, my voice low and tight. Isla sighed. Marin wore this stunning vintage necklace. Pearls with little diamonds. She wouldn't stop talking about how it was a family heirloom, how it made her feel connected to all the strong women in the family. At the time, I thought it was sweet, but now, the room tilted around me. She gave Marin my great-grandmother's necklace for her engagement party. Isla hesitated, then said, I think so, yes. Marin even posted a ton of pictures on Instagram, 15 at least. Hashtags like #FamilyLegacy and #BlessedByAncestry. I hung up and went straight to Marin's profile. And there it was. Marin glowing in some designer dress, Elias's arm wrapped proudly around her, and great-grandma Eleanor's necklace. My necklace, gleaming on her neck. The captions were worse than Isla made them sound. Feeling so blessed to carry on our family traditions. This beautiful heirloom has been passed down through generations, and I'm honored to be its next guardian. Hashtag family legacy, hashtag blessed, hashtag forever love. I didn't pick up the phone to scream or beg for answers. That would have been exactly what they expected. Instead, something inside me shifted. The betrayal cut so deep it cleared my vision. I wasn't going to be the crying, dramatic daughter anymore. I got smart. I started gathering proof, screenshots of Marin's posts, photos of the empty jewelry box, Isla's pictures of her wearing the necklace. I saved every voicemail, every pathetic excuse text, every piece of evidence that showed the truth of what my family had done. But I didn't stop there. I poured myself into building a life that had nothing to do with them. Nolan and I thrived. I dove headfirst into my career at Morrison Marketing, taking on the hard projects no one else wanted. Within 6 months, I'd landed 3 huge clients that boosted our department's numbers like never before. One Thursday afternoon, my boss, Victor Hayes, pulled me into his office with a grin. "Lila, I don't know what's gotten into you, but whatever it is, keep it up. I'm promoting you to senior account director, effective immediately, and with a very nice salary bump." That raise changed everything. Nolan and I left our cramped little apartment behind and bought a townhouse in the Highlands. Big kitchen, home office, even a garden where I finally planted Eleanor's. With the extra income, I started investing. Nolan thought I'd lost my mind when I bought my first rental property in Boulder, but within a year the rent covered half our mortgage. A year later, I owned 2 more. Meanwhile, Isla kept me in the loop about the circus I'd stepped away from. Marin's wedding planning was falling apart. Vendors quitting, budgets ballooning, screaming matches between her and Elias. 3 different planners have walked out. Isla told me one afternoon over coffee. She keeps insisting everything has to be flawless, but she's driving everyone insane. Even Elias looks exhausted. And my parents? Isla let slip that things weren't going well. Dad's accounting firm had lost clients, and Mom's boutique was barely hanging on. They'd been hoping Elias's family connections would bail them out financially, but nothing came of it. Through it all, I stayed silent. No calls, no yelling, no tears, just silence. And that silence turned out to be its own kind of power. Nolan noticed the difference too. "You seem lighter," he told me one evening as we cooked together in our new kitchen. "Like you're finally yourself." He was right. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing after their approval or trying to match Marin's achievements. I was building something of my own, and I was ready to take back what was mine. Marin's wedding was set for late September, almost exactly 2 years after mine. The venue? The Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. A place so pricey the bill could match most people's yearly salary. 2 weeks before her big day, I put my plan into motion. I hired an attorney, Adrian Cole, a sharp family law guy who specialized in messy inheritance cases. I laid everything on his desk. Great-grandma Eleanor's will, which clearly said the necklace went to the first granddaughter to marry. The Instagram evidence of Marin wearing it, and the note from my mom claiming it was damaged in storage. Marcus flipped through the documents and nodded. "This is simple. Legally, that necklace belongs to you. Your sister is wearing stolen property." "I don't just want it back," I told him. "I want the timing to be perfect." 3 days before Marin's wedding, Marcus sent a formal demand letter to my parents, Marin, and Elias. It spelled out the law plain and clear: return the necklace immediately or face consequences. But I had another move. Through my marketing work, I knew a society reporter, Sophie Bennett from Denver Lifestyle. She covered high-profile weddings and charity galas, but she had a knack for sniffing out the dirt hiding under the glitz. Over lunch, I told her about the heirloom drama. Her eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning. By the time Marcus delivered the letter, Amanda had her story ready. The morning of Marin's wedding, 2 things hit at once. Marcus showed up at the Broadmoor with a sheriff's deputy to serve the legal papers. And Amanda's article went live online with the headline, "The Case of the Stolen Wedding Necklace. When Family Heirlooms Spark Family Feuds." According to Isla, who was feeding me updates by text from the bridal suite, it was chaos. "The hotel manager won't let Marin wear the necklace," she typed. "They don't want liability. She's losing her mind. Screaming, crying, refusing to leave the dressing room. Mom's arguing with the deputy, but he's not budging. They had to reshoot the photos without it. Marin walked down the aisle bare-necked, her face red from crying. At the reception, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Guests whispered about the scandal. Amanda's piece went viral, spreading like wildfire across social media. Old friends and even distant acquaintances reached out to me, saying they admired me for standing up for myself. People shared their own family betrayal stories in the comments, cheering me on. And then the best part, 2 days later, a courier showed up at my door. Inside the package was great-grandma Eleanor's necklace, shining just as beautifully as I remembered. That evening, Nolan fastened it around my neck, and for the first time, I wore it as a married woman. He looked at me in the mirror and asked, "How does it feel?" "Like coming home," I said softly, and I meant it. I never spoke to my family again after that, and I've never once regretted it.